Chapter 227. Have ulterior motives towards him. Seeing his hesitation, Su Yingxue smiled and said, Is Guard Lan afraid that others will find out that you accepted bribes and can't explain it in front of the emperor? Lan Ling turned his face to the side and hummed in agreement. Then I'll leave the medicine here. If Guard Lan wants it, feel free to take it. If not, let the palace attendants collect it. Su Yingxue placed the 2 bottles of golden wound medicine at Lan Ling's feet and said before she left, The golden wound medicine is made from blood-clotting grass and has an excellent healing effect. She had already walked far away, but her voice lingered in Lan Ling's mind. He bent down to pick up the medicine. The wound on his leg was still bleeding, but what concerned him more was, Su Yingxue, are you genuinely kind and concerned about me? It's fake. Little Ginseng's voice sounded in Su Yingxue's mind. Su Yingxue was surprised. You're awake. It hadn't appeared for such a long time, and she thought that this fellow was no longer in her consciousness. Little Ginseng floated up with a tuft of whisker on its head, looking annoyed. You still have the nerve to say that. If you hadn't plucked my precious whisker, would I have needed such a long recovery? You almost killed me. You're full of energy now. There's nothing wrong with you at all. I'm relieved. Su Yingxue patted her chest. When she heard little Ginseng getting worked up in her mind, she felt much more at ease. I can't stand you lying to such a pure and handsome brother, so I jumped out to teach you a lesson. Little Ginseng expressed disdain. How did one lie to him? I was just giving him some medicine, and I owed him a favor. Su Yingxue did not think much of it. Do you dare to say that you have no intentions towards him? These ancient eyes of little Ginseng had seen through many things. I do have some motives. My mother's death is related to the Empress. Lan Ling is the Emperor's most loyal palace guard. He might know something, and by befriending him, I might find out something as well. Su Yingxue didn't hide her plan from little Ginseng. Humph, that little brother will fall for you sooner or later. This was what little Ginseng despised. Su Yingxue rolled her eyes. Do you think everyone is like you? You only like one face? She didn't take little Ginseng's words to heart at all. She never thought in the years to come, she would feel guilty for Lan Ling's death. In the imperial study, Chu Mingyuan and Chu Yihan were at daggers drawn, and the atmosphere in the hall dropped to freezing point. After Chu Mingyuan ascended the throne, he rarely spent time alone with Chu Yihan. He knew that the two of them no longer had any brotherhood. However, today's events gave him a sense of imminent danger. Today you colluded with Su Yingxue to tarnish Ziyuan's reputation. Although he is not without fault, I have to punish him. Starting from my prince. Chu Yihan, are you unable to hold it in anymore? Chu Mingyuan questioned sternly. Imperial brother is worrying too much. There was no emotion in Chu Yihan's voice. His meticulously crafted face, akin to that of a deity, remained perennially cold. However, his indifference and disregard further infuriated Chu Mingyuan. He slammed the table heavily. Chu Yihan, don't give me that indifferent look. Do you think I don't know you want this throne? What I want has never been unattainable. Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty cold light. You insolent. Chu Mingyuan's face was livid with anger. The scenes before he ascended the throne all appeared in his mind. The prince I favor most is Yihan. But father, I am the crown prince you appointed. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 228. Chu Yihan's untouchable bottom line. If you ascend to the throne, you can ensure the stability of the royal court. Only by having Hainer succeed to the throne can the great Qing dynasty unify the 9 provinces for thousands of generations. Father, is this the first time imperial brother has seen me being impudent? Chu Yihan had never shown his arrogance in front of outsiders and now appeared proud. In front of Chu Mingyuan, he seemed to be looking down on him, as if he wanted to strip away all the imperial authority of Emperor Chu Mingyuan. I'm telling you, even if you have ambition, you will only be a rebellious traitor who usurps the throne. Chu Mingyuan's face turned red as he shouted angrily. I will return these words to imperial brother. Chu Yihan's tone was cold. He left immediately after he finished speaking, not needing Chu Mingyuan's permission at all. He had always been a looming threat in Chu Mingyuan's heart. When he started to act presumptuously, Chu Mingyuan felt a strong sense of danger. He waved his hand and smashed all the memorials on the table. After Su Yingxue delivered the medicine to Lan Ling, she had no reason to stay in the palace anymore. However, as she walked around the palace gate, even the palace guard who was on duty came up and joked, "Miss Su, are you taking a stroll at the palace gate?" Su Yingxue replied with a fake smile, "Yes." She wanted to wait until Chu Yihan came out. Not long after, Chu Yihan came out. He was riding a horse and holding the Qingfeng sword. He didn't look like he was in the palace at all. Instead, he looked like he was taking a stroll in the courtyard of the prince's mansion. He rode past Su Yingxue and reached out to pull her onto the horse. The palace guard who had joked with Su Yingxue just now rubbed his eyes. Su Yingxue had disappeared into thin air just like that. Chu Yihan's hands tightly embraced Su Yingxue's waist. If it wasn't for his gloomy expression, Su Yingxue would have thought that he was afraid that she would fall. However, Chu Yihan's arm tightened more and more. Su Yingxue bit her lip and reminded him, "Your Highness, my waist is not made of iron." If he exerted more force, she, as a doctor, would have to rest in bed. Upon hearing this, Chu Yihan loosened his grip on her but still held her in his arms, and his expression remained unchanged. Su Yingxue tentatively asked, "Your Highness, did something unpleasant happen between you and the Emperor?" Chu Yihan's entire body released a chill. Su Yingxue felt that the air in front of her had thinned. She seemed to have touched a certain untouchable nerve on his body. "You went to see Lan Ling just now?" Chu Yihan's voice was as cold as ice. Su Yingxue was somewhat incredulous. "How did your Highness know?" She only went to deliver the medicine to Lan Ling, said a few words, and didn't linger much. This was something Chu Mingyuan might not even care about. But Chu Yihan knew about it just after coming out of the palace? He had spies in the palace? Or was he extremely powerful? A wave of fear immediately surged out from the bottom of Su Yingxue's heart. "He is Chu Mingyuan's man. I don't like you to associate with him," Chu Yihan said with arrogance, almost commanding her. Su Yingxue's heart sank. "Today he was injured while testing medicine for my brother. One was just giving him medicine to thank him." Of course, she didn't tell Chu Yihan about her intention to gather information about her mother from Lan Ling, because she felt that it wasn't necessary to disturb him. Chu Mingyuan's men only have one ending. You don't have to worry about it. At this moment, Chu Yihan was so cold that Su Yingxue had never seen him before. He sent her to the entrance of the Marquis Manor and rode away. Su Yingxue stood on the spot for a long time. Her hands and feet were cold. She felt that there was a depth to Chu Yihan, many things that were far beyond her understanding. For example, his relationship with the Silver Moon Pavilion. Follow current novels on topnovelfool.com. Chapter 229. Su Yura's mother during the Empress' birthday banquet in the palace. Many rumors were circulating, most of which were related to Su Yingxue. However, when Lin Cixi came to gossip with Su Yingxue, she made the situation sound even more extraordinary. "Dr. Su, you don't know. There are so many young masters queuing up outside, all wanting to marry you. They said that you can bring prosperity to the husband's family. Moreover, no one would dare to go against you. One came today, and 2 stewards gave me a visiting card and asked me to pass it to you." Lin Cixi placed the 2 visiting cards on Su Yingxue's desk. Su Yingxue glanced at them and casually tossed them aside. "Recently, the clinic has started admitting patients to stay, and there's a lot of work to do. I'm too busy for marriage matters, let alone entertaining such visits." Previously, Consort Xiang had sent Xiangling over to invite her into the palace for a chat, but she didn't have the time to go. So how could she have the leisure to care about this now? She wanted to spend more time reading the medicinal books and letters left by her mother. Recently, she came across a particularly interesting one that discussed surgical procedures. Although she didn't understand what surgical procedures were, her mother's letters contained a lot of information about this type of medical book. She even left a box for her to find a way to open. She planned to delve into the book thoroughly before attempting to open the box. "Dr. Su, you're either reading or seeing patients." That was the last patient in the morning. You should take a break and listen to what I have to say. Lin Sisi, besides practicing martial arts, often came to find Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue lowered her head to read her book. It's fine. Go ahead, I'm listening. Alright then. Let me tell you about Minister Wu's family first. They seem to have brought this upon themselves, and now their situation is miserable. Madame Wu fell seriously ill after returning from the Empress' birthday banquet, and later developed hysteria. Lord Wu locked her in the room, nailed the door shut, and left her to fend for herself. As for Wu Ruofei, it seemed that no one wanted her because she made a fool of herself. Originally, Lord Wu had arranged a modest marriage for her, but he was recently exposed to corruption and bribery. He's now in the capital prefecture's prison, and the marriage is off. Wu Ruofei spends her days crying at home. When Su Yingxue heard this, she raised her head and smiled. This is karma. After she left the palace, she handed Wu Hongtao's account book to Liang Jin. Liang Jin was stern and detested corruption. Naturally, he would punish Wu Hongtao. As for Madame Wu and her daughter, from the moment they plotted against her and her brother, their good days were already numbered. What surprised her now was that when she and Ziwei went to investigate the Wu family the other day, they found out that Wu Ruofei's maid, a girl named Feng He, had inexplicably died. Ziwei found the corpse and Su Yingxue went to examine it. She discovered that she was killed by a sharp blade, a single fatal blow. Apart from seeking revenge, no one in the Wu family would lay a hand on a maid like her. And those who could seek revenge on her. The first thing that popped up in Su Yingxue's mind was Su Yura's figure. With Su Yura's scheming mind, she had never thought of silencing the maid. The only person who could help her plan and send someone to take action was her skilled mother. Sister Wu, you're so beautiful today. Lin Sisi couldn't help but exclaim when she saw Wu Jinyan enter. Wu Jinyan was wearing a long, wavy, akubla dress, with a cloud hairpin adorning her side-swept hair. Her makeup was exquisite, radiating elegance and charm. In her hands, she carried a tray containing 2 new dresses and some cosmetics, hairpins, and accessories. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows and smiled. Has the owner of Thousand Jiao Pavilion come to do business at my clinic? Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool.com. Chapter 230. She wanted to propose marriage to Chu Jinling. Wu Jinyan glared at her. That's right. One specially came to drive Su's clinic to make a loss. She placed the tray on Su Yingxue's table and let her and Lin Sisi make their selections. Every girl loved new clothes and jewelry, even if Su Yingxue spent her days in the clinic and Lin Sisi wielded weapons all day. When they saw what Wu Jinyan had sent over, the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. Su Yingxue was generous and let Lin Sisi choose first, with whatever remained to be hers. Lin Sisi shook her head firmly. Miss Wu is your future sister-in-law. No matter what, you should be the first to pick the things she gives you, Dr. Su. Even if I choose it, one rarely have the opportunity to wear them. Do you think one can wear colorful and glamorous dressed and put on makeup in this clinic? Su Yingxue spread her hands helplessly. Lin Sisi sized her up. She was always dressed in either red or black martial attire, with a beautiful face free of makeup. A simple white jade hairpin was the only adornment in her flowing hair, presenting a modest and straightforward appearance. In a clinic filled with the scent of medicine and the presence of patients, heavy makeup might be more trouble than it's worth. Lin Sisi smiled. Then I want stand on ceremony. She chose a green dress and some bright jewelry. Wu Jinyan was a few years older than Lin Sisi and Su Yingxue. When she saw how youthful and beautiful Lin Sisi was, she couldn't help but be envious. Miss Lin, you're young and tender, and this elegant style suits you well. Lin Sisi held the clothes and gestured at her body. She casually said, It was the 9th prince who said that I look good in green. One bought some hairpins the day before yesterday, and they were all made of green jade. Did the 9th prince mention anything about a girl who wields weapons not being ladylike? Su Yingxue's eyes flashed as she tentatively asked. Lin Sisi pouted and looked proud. No. He said that both men and women are the same. Strong martial skills and a bold character are admirable in both. And he even said he would persuade the ninth prince to take me as a disciple to fulfill my dreams. The ninth prince really understands you. Wu Jingyan smiled slightly, and there was a hint of understanding in her eyes. He does indeed understand me. Lin Sisi lowered her head, a hint of shyness appearing on her face. Su Yingxue and Wu Jingyan both burst into laughter spontaneously. When Lin Sisi came back to her senses, she realized she had been tricked. She threw the clothes at Su Yingxue. All right, Dr. Su. You both conspired to test me. Too treacherous. That's not quite right. We're good friends. What's wrong with showing concern for your marriage? Your status is compatible with the ninth prince. He is not shrewd and smart. The two of you make a great pair. In the future, with one being a female general and the other a great writer, how many eternal stories will the ninth prince create? Su Yingxue thought of Chu Jinling's best-selling book and felt like laughing. Chu Jinling gave her 2 copies, and she would flip through them when she was free. Needless to say, the stories written by someone with such good writing skills, even if they were fabricated, were incredibly captivating. Lin Sisi nodded. One also think that marrying him in the future is not bad. When the time comes, I'll have my father propose marriage. Wu Jingyan was stunned at first, but then she was very impressed. In the entire Great Qing dynasty, the only girl who dared to directly propose marriage to the prince's residence was probably Lin Sisi. The three of them chatted for a while before Wu Jingyan brought up a serious topic with Su Yingxue. Yesterday, a guest came to the Thousand Jiao Pavilion and I personally received her. However, I feel, Yingxue, you should be more careful in the Marquis manner. Wu Jingyan patted her hand. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 231. The special guest of Thousand Jiao Pavilion. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. What kind of guest is it that made Sister Jinyan so nervous? I guess that she is Su Yura's mother, the woman that the Marquis kept outside Lu Shulan. Wu Jinyan's eyes were filled with deep meaning. How do you know? Su Yingxue frowned. In her previous life, she didn't meet Lu Shulan many times. The first time was when she was a child, and she saw her father and Lu Shulan meeting secretly. She only remembered that the woman had a gentle temperament and was very good at coaxing people. However, with her grandfather around, she hadn't been able to enter the Marquis manor for many years. Therefore, the last time she saw her was before her death. She accompanied Su Yuro to see her in destitution. At that time, she had been reduced to nothing and was already tortured beyond recognition. Every time Su Yuro saw her, she would add new injuries to her and torture her. However, Lu Shulan didn't give off that domineering vibe. Her eyes were pitiful and full of compassion. Something Su Yingxue never understood until she died. Many things were clear in front of her eyes after her rebirth. At that time, Lu Shulan pitied her because she was too foolish. Foolish to the point of no return. As for compassion, perhaps it was because she felt that even though she hadn't entered the Marquis manor for so many years, what she received was something Su Yingxue had never seen in her entire life. Wu Jingyan said in detail. She was dressed in a reserved and luxurious manner. Moreover, as soon as she entered the shop, she subtly mentioned my name. Naturally, I would personally entertain her. She seemed to be chatting about her daily life, but the topic was always about the Marquis manor and you. She even used your brother's matter to tease me. Later, she bought several thousand taels worth of items, and one ordered the shopkeeper to register her address, saying that we would regularly send her fashionable fabrics. That address was Yaoguang Garden. One sent people to investigate and they witnessed Marquis entering. Su Yingxue smiled and nodded. Sister Jinyan is very thoughtful. If it wasn't for the fact that Wu Jingyan was such a meticulous person, she probably wouldn't have noticed it so easily. It's not that I'm thoughtful. One always feel that she intentionally let me notice, then use my mouth to convey the message to you. Wu Jingyan frowned slightly. This was what she was worried about. She grew up in a tough environment, so she was meticulous and observed people. This Lu Shulan was much more difficult to deal with than the minister's estate's Madame Wu. Sister Wu, how did you know? Lin Sisi listened for a long time, her small face filled with confusion. Wu Jinyan looked at the innocence in her eyes and felt that it was rare. She pursed her lips and smiled. It's probably a woman's intuition. There were many things that Su Yingxue could immediately understand. But Lin Cixi was different. Sister Jinyan was originally a pearl covered in dust. Now that the Wu family is gone, she naturally doesn't have to conceal herself and can shine brightly. Su Yingxue pinched Lin Cixi's face. Yes, now that the Wu family is gone. Sister Jinyan, will you be sad? Lin Cixi blurted out. Su Yingxue wanted to cover her mouth, but she was too slow. Wu Jinyan lowered her head, and a hint of dimness crossed her eyes, but quickly, they regained their initial brightness. Many years ago, I raised myself. The honor and disgrace of the Wu family had nothing to do with me. Now what concerns me is only the Thousand-Jiao Pavilion. One only need to manage it with dedication, and do what I want to do. Wu Jinyan came today and even brought the account book over for Su Yingxue to take a look. Su Yingxue had spent a lot of money investing in Thousand-Jiao Pavilion. Although she managed it, most of the final income was meant for Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue looked at the account book, raised her pen, and changed the profit-sharing ratio written by Wu Jinyan from 9:1 to an equal split of 5:5. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 232. Strange patient Wu Jinyan held her hand and shook her head seriously. Yingxue, you can't do this. One can't take so much money from you. When Thousand-Jiao Pavilion is running smoothly, even a 10% share is not a small amount. Su Yingxue let go of her hand and smiled. 10% isn't a small amount, so 50% is a lot for me. Besides, one don't know how to do business. Manager Qi is the one running the clinic, and am only responsible for treating patients. Manager Qi is already exhausted from running a clinic, let alone you, sister. Besides, Thousand-Jiao Pavilion isn't an ordinary shop. With you there, it's still my eyes, isn't it? Wu Jinyan thought about it for a moment. Su Yingxue was right. The Thousand-Jiao Pavilion, being a gathering place for women, could indeed be her eyes, helping to overcome many difficulties. With this understanding, Wu Jinyan accepted the adjusted profit-sharing ratio without objections. Perhaps to make her feel at ease, Su Yingxue added, in the early stages of my investment, there's still a portion from my brother. Although we're siblings, we still need to keep accounts straight. 111 allocate my brother's share to your account. You and your husband can figure it out. I'll teach you a lesson. Wu Jinyan, graceful and charming, felt both embarrassed and shy dealing with Su Yingxue's playful banter. She really wanted to scold her properly. Lin Cixi jumped between the two of them, and the three girls laughed and played for quite a while. However, Wu Jinyan's reminder did weigh on Su Yingxue's mind. Since Lu Shulan had gone to Wu Jinyan's Thousand-Jiao Pavilion, it didn't make sense for her not to come to Su Yingxue's clinic. However, what methods would she use? The next morning, shortly after the clinic opened, all the patients ran out. Su Yingxue heard the commotion and came out. Manager Qi covered his mouth and nose and stopped her. Miss, it's too smelly. You'd better not go. Dr. Qin has already gone to see the patient. What kind of patients could cause this? Su Yingxue frowned. The patient has ulcers all over the body, continuous vomiting, and a foul smell. The odor is just too overwhelming. Miss, don't get affected by it. Manager Qi pushed Su Yingxue into her treatment room again, afraid that she might get nauseated. However, Su Yingxue didn't vomit. He found it somewhat unbearable and ended up retching in the backyard. As the owner of the clinic, Su Yingxue still went to take a look. Before she reached the door of treatment room number 1, she sensed a repugnant smell. She subconsciously covered her mouth and nose. The smell was really unbearable. She stood at the door and looked. Dr. Qin was applying medicine to the patient, but the patient kept vomiting. Dr. Qin, with many years of medical experience, couldn't help but show a pained expression. Su Yingxue covered her mouth and nose, and went out to make a few masks. She threaded fine strings through a cotton cloth, creating 2 ear loops for the masks to hand on the face and block some of the smells. This was something she had seen in her mother's letter, along with another medical item called gloves. After she had prepared everything, She got someone to send it to Qin Ming. When Qin Ming's apprentice came back and told her, Dr. Qin was on the verge of tears, thanking her profusely. Su Yingxue smiled at first, but when she asked Manager Qi about the patient's condition, her smile faded. This person seems to have some unknown disease. As soon as he came in, he vomited in the hall. His entire body was covered in rashes and pustules, and some were festering on the skin, forming patches of ulcers. It looked disgusting, but the worst part was that he kept vomiting, and the vomit was extremely foul-smelling. Dr. Qin applied some ointment and administered medicinal soup to him, and now he's bathing and changing clothes. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Com. Chapter 233. Infected. Who is he? Did you register his name and address? Su Yingxue asked with a frown. He's a beggar outside the city, named Lai San. Sigh, if he hadn't given me a silver ingot as a consultation fee, one wouldn't have dared to let him stay in the clinic. Manager Qi felt regret in his heart. He should have been more careful back then. But now, since the man had the consultation fee, he couldn't deny him medical attention. A beggar from outside the city struggling even for basic necessities. How could he afford medical treatment? And why would he come straight to our clinic? Go and get Dr. Qin. Su Yingxue immediately became vigilant. Manager Qi hurriedly called Qin Ming over. Qin Ming had changed into a brown robe, was in his 40s, with many years of medical experience. He was an old doctor who had worked at Tongchang Medical Center for many years. Su Yingxue asked him, Dr. Qin, your medical skills are superb. Can you determine the illness of Lai San? It's like scabies, severe inflammation. That's why the infection has spread all over his body. Beggars like them often neglect hygiene, so their bodies fester with pus. With their nomadic lifestyle and frequent nausea and vomiting, it's quite normal. It's not difficult to treat, but it requires daily dressing changes and careful care. Qin Ming said truthfully. Su Yingxue nodded. In that case, Dr. Qin, it'll trouble you to personally take care of him for the next few days. Don't let others handle it. Be cautious about any changes in his condition. Dr. Qin, please observe him closely at all times. I'm afraid his illness might not be that simple. Qin Ming agreed. I understand. Don't worry, Mississippi. In order to treat Lai San, Qin Ming didn't go home for the past 2 days and stayed in the clinic. Su Yingxue often found herself engrossed in her mother's medical books until it was dark. When night fell, she simply slept in the study. However, with Ziwei around, she never felt cold at night. When she woke up during the day, she would find herself covered with a blanket. Su Yingxue was about to call Ziwei to go to the bun shop in the east of the city with her, and have a sumptuous breakfast when she heard Manager Qi's voice from the front yard. Miss, something bad has happened. Lai San's disease was contagious. Dr. Qin and the others were infected. What? Su Yingxue hurriedly rushed out. Fortunately, Manager Qi was quick-witted and closed the door of the clinic. He arranged for the other patients to be transferred to the branch clinic in the west of the city. At this moment, the medical hall was filled with a strong stench. Qin Ming and his 2 apprentices were vomiting at this moment. Their faces and hands were swollen with pustules, especially Qin Ming. Yellow fluid was flowing out of the pustules on his hands. Su Yingxue tried to approach, but Manager Qi blocked her with his back facing her. Miss, don't go. This disease is too severe when it breaks out. I'm feeling a bit itchy now, and I'm afraid I might have caught the disease too. Su Yingxue's eyes widened as she saw Manager Qi scratching his hand. Soon, the back of his hand broke open, oozing a mixture of blood and yellow fluid. Miss, I was careless. This disease is contagious, and the clinic is in big trouble. Qin Ming regretted deeply. He had been careless and thought that it was just a minor ailment carried by the beggar, not realizing it was a type of contagious disease. Manager Qi, instruct everyone in the clinic who has been in contact with you, Dr. Qin, and me to gather in the treatment room. Those who haven't been in contact, quickly send them home, and ask them to bring some mugwort, wash their bodies, boil it, take it, and stay at home without coming out. Manager Qi hurriedly wanted to go over, but Su Yingxue gave him a mask to put on. Remember, don't let them panic. Manager Chi nodded. Yes, miss. Follow current novels on topnovelfool.com. Chapter 234. Deadly Plague. Su Yingxue put on a mask and gloves and approached Qin Ming. Qin Ming retreated in fear. Miss, you shouldn't do this. You better leave quickly. If the disease spreads, Su Yingxue calmly walked up to him. I'm a doctor. If I'm afraid, how can I treat patients? Qin Ming was afraid of implicating her. Her calm appearance gave people a sense of security. He reluctantly allowed Su Yingxue to examine him. Su Yingxue pulled up Qin Ming's sleeve and observed that the pustules and scars on his body were spreading rapidly, and the symptoms of nausea and vomiting were gradually intensifying. Su Yingxue asked Qin Ming, when you treated Lai San, how did you diagnose him? Speaking of this, Qin Ming's eyes were filled with remorse. At that time, seeing him, considering he was a beggar and vomiting continuously, I thought he had scabies and gastrointestinal problems. I didn't pulse him but directly used scabies ointment. However, when one came back today to pulse him, I found myself itching and in pain all over. The same goes for my apprentice. Su Yingxue glanced at Qin Ming's apprentices. They both exhibited the same symptoms as Qin Ming, and it seemed more severe for them. One of the apprentices said, yesterday, one was the one who applied medicine and cleaned clothes for Lai San, with direct contact. So I am in worse condition than master and junior brother. Qin Ming looked at his body covered in pustules and scars. He felt guilty. He felt even more sorry for Su Yingxue. After practicing medicine for so many years, he never expected to be careless at times. Su Yingxue wore a mask as she pondered. To find out the root cause, I still have to treat Lai San. Miss, this is not allowed. Let me go. Anyway, I have contacted the disease. This time I'll definitely figure it out. Miss, your health is precious. If anything happens to you, our clinic will collapse. If one can't diagnose this disease, even if one die from it, it's my fate. Qin Ming stopped Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue knew that his worries were reasonable, so she followed him to the treatment room. After discovering that Lai San had an infectious disease, Manager Qi isolated him in the same treatment room as before. Su Yingxue was at the door, and Qin Ming personally went up to take Lai San's pulse. He was already a doctor with superb medical skills. Usually he would only need to take 15 pulses to determine the result. Su Yingxue saw that he had taken 30 pulses on both hands, and her brows furrowed even more tightly. After Qin Ming checked his pulse, Lai San vomited again. The stench of vomit was overwhelming. After he got Lai San to lie down and rest, he came out trembling. His lips were pale as he told Su Yingxue, Miss, this is that deadly plague from 10 years ago. The deadly plague. This word existed in Su Yingxue's mind. 10 years ago, she was still a child, but she remembered that in Yi City, thousands of miles away, almost 1/3 of the city's population died due to a deadly plague. The imperial court had sent many imperial physicians to treat it, but it was to no avail. Later, the renowned poison doctor Saint Ruan from the martial world intervened and managed to quell the disaster. Now 10 years had passed, and this deadly plague had unexpectedly appeared in her clinic. Su Yingxue brought Qin Ming out and instructed him to bathe and change clothes using mugwort. He also drank some mugwort soup and changed his mask and gloves before returning to her to provide information. Qin Ming said, back then, I went to Yi City to witness this calamity and came into contact with 1 or 2 patients. Their initial symptoms were like Lai San's. They were covered in pustules, oozing blood and pus, and kept vomiting. However, the further it progressed, the more miserable the condition of the patients became. Chapter 235. Lu Shilan's viciousness. The deadly plague was vicious in that it corroded from the inside out. The skin on the surface of the body turned into pus and blood inch by inch. The more he vomited, the more his internal organs gradually turned into pus and blood. This was the first time Su Yingxue had heard of such a shocking symptom. Do you still remember what method the poison doctor used to treat the patient who had the deadly plague? Qin Ailing shook his head disappointed. The poison doctor is eccentric and elusive. Very few people have seen him, So how would they know what method he used? Su Yingxue thought of the symptoms and thought for a while. One can't think of a way to treat him, but we can't afford to do nothing. Let's first think of a way to protect the internal organs of the infected individuals. Then, we'll use some ointment to treat the scars. We'll stabilize them first and see how we can treat them next. Qin Ming sighed. It can only be done this way. The appearance of this disease in Jiangdu City will definitely cause panic. If the news of our clinic spreads, everyone in the clinic will be doomed. Don't be so pessimistic. This clinic was opened by me, Su Yingxue. If anyone is to die, it will be me first. As long as I'm alive, you all won't die. Su Yingxue's determined gaze gave Qin Ming courage. As an experienced doctor, Qin Ming naturally knew how to medicate himself. During this period, he and his apprentices continued to take care of Lai San. Su Yingxue would personally take care of Manager Qi and observe his condition. When Su Yingxue applied medicine for Manager Qi's eyes were red. Miss, don't bother about me. I'm already so old, and life and death don't matter much. As long as you're still alive, bring old master's belongings and return to the Marquis Manor. Burn this place with a fire. You can still manage that branch in the west of the city. Su Yingxue smiled. Both are under Tongchang Medical Center's brand. If we burn down this place, would there still be people going to the clinic in the west of the city? The imperial court wouldn't agree to it for now. Moreover, do you think that one can run away after returning to the Marquis Manor? Most likely 111 be caught and brought back, and the clinic will be burned down along with it. Manager Qi realized the logic in her words. No matter what, Su Yingxue couldn't escape. Once he thought it through, he began to wipe his tears. I am really useless. I couldn't take good care of you for old master, and even let you die with us. Who said I'm going to die? Do you really not trust your boss, me? My mother is no longer around, so I can't cure this illness? Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Miss, you can definitely cure it. You're the old master's daughter. Manager Qi cried while clenching his teeth to strengthen his confidence. Su Yingxue's originally tense nerves were suddenly amused by him. Manager Qi went out to rest, and arranged for the people who were still locked up in the clinic to check their symptoms with Qin Ming. Su Yingxue had originally planned to flip through the medical books to see if her mother had left any records. However, she found nothing. As she lay on the chair and combed through the entire matter, the traces of conspiracy connected in her mind. Wu Jinyan had previously warned her that Lu Shulan had already probed her. Following that, Lai San the beggar came to her clinic. He was afraid that they wouldn't take him in, so he came in when the clinic opened and offered a silver coin. Su Yingxue would never believe that this matter was controlled by no one. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Lu Shulan. This woman who had never entered the Marquis Manor, but had always been like a poisonous snake, entrenched outside the Marquis Manor's door. Chapter 236. Fire the medical center. Perhaps she had real skills, but how did she manage to infect Lai San with the terrifying infectious disease that haunted people 10 years ago? In the Hall of Diligent Government, Chu Mingyuan listened as Liang Jin reported the events at Su Yingxue's clinic. His thick black brows furrowed together like looming peaks. Minister Liang, is it true that there is an infectious disease in Su Yingxue's clinic? Liang Jin held the jade board in his hand, and his expression was solemn. I received a confidential report, and sent someone to Tongchang Medical Center to investigate. The door of the medical center was tightly shut. Su Yingxue had already dismissed some of the people in the medical center, and ordered them to burn incense with mugwort. They were also shut at home, and were not allowed to go out. There was another group of people in Tongchang Medical Center. According to those who went to the clinic that day, Tongchang Medical Center had treated a beggar covered in pus and wounds that day. The symptoms of that person were exactly the same as the deadly plague in Yi City 10 years ago. The words deadly plague were like a clap of thunder that exploded in the court. Deadly plague? This was a deadly infectious disease. How can it appear in Jiangdu City? Your Majesty, please quickly isolate the people in Tongchang Medical Center. Don't let them spread the disease. This deadly plague can take lives. Su Yingsha's so-called medical center is nothing but a Yama's palace. The courtiers were in a state of anxiety and discussing animatedly. Su Dingheng, who was standing in the court, became the target of everyone's attacks. He was pierced like a sieve by the gazes of the civil officials and generals. However, he couldn't say a word. He could only lower his head and curse silently. This troublesome rebellious daughter. I should strangle her to death as soon as possible. She had caused him so much trouble. Father, the plan now is to think about how to treat this deadly plague. If it can't be treated, it won't be too late to punish the people from Tongchang Medical Center, Chu Qingye suggested. He was the prince that Chu Mingyuan valued the most. Chu Mingyuan was not satisfied with his answer. The deadly plague from 10 years ago was cured by the poison doctor Saint Ruan. Do you know where he is now? Chu Qingye choked. I don't know. However, he remembered that it was Chu Yihan who had invited the poison doctor to cure the disease in Yi City back then. If this matter was handed over to Chu Yihan, he could also handle it well. However, he didn't want to take credit for Chu Yihan. Chu Jinling wasn't as petty as him. He shouted bluntly, Imperial father, ninth imperial uncle knows. 10 years ago, he was the one who found the poison doctor and resolved Yi City's crisis. Chu Mingyuan didn't blame Chu Jinling for being straightforward. It was because he didn't want his ninth brother to show his face again. 10 years ago, he had already established his status as an immortal in the hearts of the people. If he were to find the poison doctor again this time, he would gain even more popular support. How could he maintain his imperial position? Liang Jin also knew about this, so he secretly looked at Chu Yihan, hoping that this master would give him some reaction. However, Chu Yihan was dressed in a moon-white brocade robe and held a jade pendant in his hand. He stood there as handsome as a statue. His clear stance was evident. It's none of my business, and I won't get involved. Chu Mingyuan waved his sleeves coldly. The problem originated from Tongchang Medical Center. If we want to stop the deadly plague from spreading, burn Tongchang Medical Center. The court was in an uproar. Most of the people supported Chu Mingyuan's decision, as people are inherently selfish. What was wrong with sacrificing others in exchange for the peace of their own family? Only a few upright courtiers whispered. Isn't it too cruel to burn down the medical center without providing any treatment? Yeah, there are still lives inside. That Dr. Su is a rare female doctor. She even treated my wife's illness. She treated my daughter's illness too. Chapter 237. Chu Yihan's responsibility. Chu Yihan, who had been silent all along, spoke up at this moment. Burning down the medical center is not only cruel but also ruthless, absurd to the extreme. Imperial uncle, how dare you be so insolent? You dare to say that father is ruthless? Chu Qingye's eyes spewed anger. I haven't spoken wrongly. Chu Yihan's tone remained calm, but his frosty face made it hard for people to look at him directly. If I am ruthless ninth brother, what's your suggestion? Should I send imperial physicians to Tongchang Medical Center, or should I send people to find the poison doctor, Saint Ruan, to resolve this disaster and save Su Yingxue? Chu Mingyuan deliberately mentioned Su Yingsha's name to poke Chu Yihan's heart. Chu Yihan tightened his grip on the jade pendant. No one could see that under his fingers was the word snow carved on the jade pendant. I will be responsible for finding the poison doctor and saving the people from Tongchang Medical Center. If anything goes wrong, I'll bear the responsibility. With these words, Chu Yihan left the Hall of Diligent Government. The faces of the officials behind him displayed a variety of emotions. Even Chu Mingyuan gritted his teeth in anger. The moment he left, Chu Mingyuan angrily ordered the courtiers to go home. Chu Jinling jogged behind him. Imperial uncle, did you really go against father? One heard mother say that this deadly plague is quite scary. At that time, someone in the Xiao family contracted the disease and didn't escape this calamity. What your father wants is not Tongchang Medical Center's life but my life. Chu Yihan sneered. Chu Jinling smacked his lips awkwardly. He thought, why was it so complicated? He was planning to leave the palace and return to the bookstore and write books, but before he could take a few steps, he was dragged back by noble consort Xiao's people. Noble consort Xiao kept him by her side, saying that until the deadly plague was quelled, he was not allowed to leave her sight. Chu Qingye was also brought back by his mother. Chu Qingye lost his temper in the Empress Palace. "Mother, this matter is extremely serious. I can't just stand by and do nothing. I must leave the palace and check the situation at Tongchang Medical Center." "Have you gone mad? That's the deadly plague. Don't you care about your life? Do you not care about your mother's life?" The Empress angrily smashed a cup of tea, and tears were about to fall. Her eldest son Chu Xiaowen was now half-crippled. Chu Qingye was her only son who was still intact. There's no way she would let him go to his death. "Mother, I will be careful. That deadly plague may not be that severe. I want to retrieve the situation for father. Otherwise, the credit will fall to imperial uncle again." Chu Qingye looked anxious. A series of rolling sounds came from outside the hall, and Chu Xiaowen was pushed in. His legs were weak and his face was pale. He leaned on the wheelchair and lectured Chu Qingye. "Are you afraid that Chu Yihan will get the credit? You're probably worried about Su Yingshi's life and want to leave the palace to take care of her." Chu Qingye retorted sternly. "I don't. How is she worthy of my care? How? Is she not already in your heart? Ever since I schemed against her, you, my so-called brother, have never called me brother again. In the end, you're still feeling indignant for Su Yingxue." Chu Xiaowen was weak. After shouting, he began to cough. "You brought this upon yourself." Chu Qingye's face darkened. If Chu Xiaowen hadn't insisted on tarnishing Su Yingshi's innocence last time, how could he have fallen into her trap? Are you a man with principles? Even if Su Yingxue dies now, you won't be able to get her heart. She had long since hooked up with imperial uncle, and had no idea how she could enjoy herself under him every night. You fool, you're still thinking for her. Chapter 238. I will accompany you in the burial. You. Chu Qingye was so angry that he wanted to retort. He wanted to throw a tantrum at Chu Xiaowen and argue with him, saying that Su Yingxue didn't enjoy herself under Chu Yihan. But he couldn't say these words, because even he himself wasn't sure. Chu Yihan was such a cold and heartless person. He would take the blame for the Tongchang Medical Center incident on himself and bear the responsibility. It was all for Su Yingxue. Chu Qingye went to the side hall sullenly. He didn't want to face his third brother and mother, and even more he didn't want to face. Chu Yihan was more willing to part with Su Yingxue than he was to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue knew that this matter would definitely cause a stir in the imperial court, but she didn't expect that the person who came was actually Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan stood at the door with his soldiers and called out to her. "Su Yingxue, Your Highness, I'm here." Hearing Su Yingshi's voice, the haze in Chu Yihan's heart dissipated a little. He stepped forward and was about to walk to the door of the clinic when Liang Jin's eyes widened. "Your Highness, it's dangerous. It's better to stay further away." He was worried that Chu Yihan might also contract the illness. Chu Yihan didn't heed his advice. He stood at the door until he could clearly see the silhouette of Su Yingxue on the doorframe. He reached out and pressed on the doorframe where her head was. He asked gently, "Are you all right? With me here, there's no need to be afraid." Su Yingshu's heart was filled with warmth. "Your Highness, don't worry. I'm safe and sound. I'm not infected." "Sister." Su Hao also rushed out of the military camp. He was stopped by Liang Jin. "Young general, don't get close. You hold a crucial position, and your safety is connected to the well-being of many soldiers in the army. Please step back, step back." Liang Jin couldn't push Su Hao alone, so he called many palace guards to help, finally pushing Su Hao a few steps back. Su Yingxue heard Su Hao's voice and answered him loudly, "Brother, don't worry. It'll be fine." "How can it be fine? This deadly plague is very dangerous." "Sister, why are you?" Su Hao gritted his teeth. A man of 7 feet, usually composed, couldn't help but turn red ice at this moment. If his sister died in this disaster, how could he face his grandfather? How could he have the face to meet his deceased mother? He was her older brother. He should be inside protecting her. "Brother, coming in won't help. You're not a doctor who doesn't know how to treat illnesses, but I do. I promise that one will definitely cure the patients. Su Yingxue shouted at Su Hao. The more she said this, the more uncertain she felt, because she still hadn't figured out how to cure this deadly plague. Your Highness, can you find the poison doctor? Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with hope. Chu Yihan didn't conceal the truth from her. I've sent people to look for him, but the chances aren't high. He's always been homeless. Su Yingxue smiled bitterly. Is that so? That means that this calamity is destined to happen to me. Su Yingxue, listen up. One guarantee in front of my imperial brother, that if you can cure this illness, one will live in peace with you. If you can't cure it, my imperial brother will burn down the medical center, and I will accompany you in the burial. Chu Yihan's voice was very soft, but when it reached Su Yingxue's ears, every word was like a huge rock smashing into her heart. What? How can it be like this? How can the emperor treat you like this? You. Quickly go and tell the emperor. I can burn down the clinic, but one don't want you to die with me. Su Yingxue's eyes turned red. How could she let Chu Yihan die with her? He was the revered god of war of the great Qing dynasty. How could he be ruined by her? I volunteered for this. Su Yingxue, if you die, there is no point in me standing in the imperial court. Chu Yihan's fingers traced her silhouette on the doorframe. Chapter 239. Last order. His voice was deep and sexy, like aged wine in a hidden alley. From now on, I'll be guarding you outside. Anytime you speak up, I'll be there. I can give you anything you need. I will keep searching for Saint Juan for you. You don't have to be afraid. There was no need to be afraid. How much must he love her to make such a promise at a time like this? Su Yingxue, who was a bit disheartened, wiped away her tears. I, Su Yingxue, will never be afraid. Your Highness, if you want to die with me, one won't give you the chance. Chu Yihan smiled when he heard her arrogant tone. He knew that the little girl who dared to touch his face and offer herself to him at the age of 3 would never be afraid today. Su Yingxue kept observing Qin Ming's symptoms and tried different medicines for them. However, no matter what kind of antidote she formulated, their conditions improved one day only to worsen the next, day after day. 3 days had passed. Su Yingxue even locked herself in her mother's study. Yes, she had locked herself from the inside, to prevent Ziwei Tail from breaking through the door. However, just as she was engrossed in her book, a powerful surge of air smashed into the room along with the debris of the door. Su Yingxue looked at Ziwei, who stood at the door with a knife in his hand, and said seriously, "Stay there, don't move." Ziwei didn't budge. "Let me protect you. Stand there and don't move. Stay away from me is protecting me. This disease is so severe. Just because I'm not showing any symptoms doesn't mean I'm not infected. You're not allowed to come near me, step back." Su Yingxue had always been gentle to him, but this time, she berated him sternly. She was as serious as she could be. Ziwei didn't get close, but he also refused to step back. His eyes were stubborn. "I want to stay with you. What's the use of you accompanying me now? Can you cure patients for me? If one infect you, it will only add to an innocent life." Su Yingxue berated him sternly, finally making him take a step back. However, he quickly returned to his original position. His voice was not as cold as usual. There was a hint of frustration. "Can one help you with anything?" Su Yingxue blurted out. She wanted him to stay as far away as possible. That would be the greatest help he could offer her. However, it was better to let him do some serious business than to send him away. "Go to Yaoguang Garden, and help me keep an eye on Lu Shulan. In these days that I haven't left the medical center, keep an eye on her. I want to know her words, actions, and the places she usually goes. When I leave the medical center, report all these things to me in detail, got it?" Ziwei nodded solemnly. Got it. He would definitely follow her orders and keep an eye on Lu Shulan, but he dared not leave. The purple hue at the end of his eyes became even deeper. Under the moonlight it sparkled. There was even a trace of trembling. That's right. He was afraid. He had been raised as a weapon since he was young. He had never dared to have human feelings, let alone so many emotions. But now he had feelings and emotions. He was worried about suing Xue. He was afraid once he left, he might never see her again. Ziwei 111 give you one last order. If I can't leave the medical center, you have to live well in the future. Find a doctor to heal your body. Live as long as you can. If you live one day less, even if you see me in Yama's palace, I won't be your master anymore. Su Yingshi's eyes were filled with beautiful wishes. Ziwei's throat was choked with sobs. He struggled to make a sound. Yes, master. Chapter 240. Hong Lian provoke watching Ziwei leave. Su Yingxue felt a twinge of reluctance, but also a heavy burden lifted. Regardless of whether she could cure the plague this time, at least she wouldn't implicate Ziwei. She had always hoped that he could live like a normal person. Ha ha ha. What a good show of affection so entwined. Hong Lian's bold laughter came from outside the door, sharply contrasting with the silent night. Unlike the fear of Ziwei contracting the disease just a moment ago, Su Yingxue stepped out and approached Hong Lian. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, did you come for a stroll to my place at this late hour? You're so free. With every word she said, she took a step closer to Hong Lian. She didn't bring assassin number 19 with her today, and her eyes that were blinded by her poison had also recovered their sight. Her long hair fluttered in the moonlight, and her eyes were full of pride. As someone nearing death, of course, one have to take a few more glances at you. Otherwise, when your body starts to decay and pus, not even the features can be distinguished. That would be quite unappetizing. Su Yingxue stood in front of Hong Lian. A seductive smile blossomed on her beautiful face. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, how do you conclude that I'm nearing death? You can't cure the deadly plague. Hong Lian inched closer to her, her eyes filled with cold and mockery. She looked down on her with pride. It was as if she was the blazing sun, and she, Su Yingxue, was just a dying cicada after a summer. However, Su Yingxi's smile became even brighter. You clearly know that I can't cure the deadly plague, yet you come so close without any fear. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, I'm afraid that this deadly plague was your doing, right? Hong Lian's eyes gleamed sharply as she grabbed Su Yingxi's neck. Are you deliberately testing me? Su Yingxue didn't resist, but the smile on her lips became even more ethereal. Hong Lian, I've been in the medical center for so long. My manager and doctor have all been infected with the deadly plague, and you still dare to touch me. It seems that not only is the deadly plague you're doing, but even the poison doctor, Saint Ruan, is also under your control, right? After Su Yingxue finished speaking slowly, she grabbed Hong Lian's hand with her right hand and pulled her in front of her. The two women looked at each other, and their eyes radiated crimson murderous intent. Su Yingxue, as death approaches, savor these last moments. Hong Lian shook off her hand and retreated with a cold smile. You can scheme against me, but aren't you the one who had always been infatuated with His Highness? Don't you know that this time he vouched for me? If something happens to me, he won't be blameless. Su Yingxi's eyes were profound, with a probing glint. Are you even worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as His Highness? His Highness commands tens of thousands of troops, and even the Emperor dares not reprimand him. As for you, even if His Highness is implicated by you this time, the Silver Moon Pavilion will surely present a brilliant plan to ensure His Highness' safe retreat. What you call a safe retreat is to have the poison doctor, Saint Ruan, intervene after my death and cure the deadly plague. Su Yingxue flipped her hair, her eyes filled with confidence. Su Yingxue, go ahead and flaunt your abilities. When you're dead, I'll definitely grind your corpse to ashes. Hong Lian said and then swiftly left. As she watched her leave, Su Yingxue secretly smirked. She really had to thank this woman who came to see her make a fool of herself. The mysteries in her mind suddenly unraveled. Lu Shulan, Silver Moon Pavilion, Deadly Plague. Su Yingxue was excited for a moment, but the gleam in her eyes quickly faded. What's the use of unraveling all this? If she couldn't cure the deadly plague, she wouldn't be able to escape either. Chapter 241. The antidote to fight poison with poison. However, Hong Lian's words made her feel more at ease. Chu Yihan wouldn't lose his life because of this. As for the mention of being buried together, Su Yingxue pressed her hand against her chest. She kept these words in her heart, a warmth to console herself. Another night passed, and Qin Ming and the others gradually showed signs of physical exhaustion. His eldest disciple was the first to cough up blood, and he already had some symptoms of fainting. Manager Qi came to tell her weakly, "Miss Lai San is in critical condition. This time, I'm afraid we're really in trouble. Miss, you haven't contracted the disease yet. It's better to leave quickly. If you survive, there's still a glimmer of hope for our medical center and the old master." In this short period of time, it was normal for no one to be able to cure this deadly plague. It would be abnormal if someone did. Su Yingxue had been busy for a few days and felt a little dizzy. She wore a mask and shook her head hard. "I said it before, we live or die together." She would never abandon her people and the medical center and run away. She went to Lai San's treatment room. Although she cleaned him up every day, the things he vomited became increasingly smelly. The pervasive smell of pus and blood, as the infection spread all over his body, made it unbearable to approach. His hands were black, but he kept reaching forward. He said in a hoarse voice, Save me. One don't want to die." Su Yingxue wore gloves, administered medicinal soup, and applied ointment to him. She said calmly, "Don't worry, as long as I'm alive, I won't allow anyone to die." She wasn't the poison doctor, Saint Juan, but that didn't mean she couldn't develop the antidote that Saint Juan had developed. As night fell, the lights outside the medical center remained on. Liang Jing dispatched people to seal the road and stationed a heavy guard, but he could not persuade the immovable Chu Yihan, no matter what. Chu Yihan guarded this place day and night without moving a single step, until that beautiful figure appeared on the doorframe. He took a step forward and placed his hand on the doorframe. His voice was low. "Su Yingxue, are you okay?" "I'm still here. Your Highness, I haven't been infected so far, probably because the heavens are looking out for me. Please tell my brother not to worry." Su Yingxue's voice was gentle. Chu Yihan nodded. "Okay. Your Highness, is it that Saint Juan couldn't be found?" Su Yingxue asked. Chu Yihan's eyes darkened. "I've already ordered the Silver Moon Pavilion to search for him. We'll definitely find him." Su Yingxue laughed secretly. Chu Yihan probably didn't know that Hong Lian had come to see her. His relationship with the Silver Moon Pavilion was truly extraordinary. However, this wasn't what she wanted to know. She asked Chu Yihan, "Does your Highness understand Saint Juan's personality? He's reclusive, eccentric, and likes to act young." Chu Yihan wouldn't have used those words if he wasn't describing Saint Juan. Su Yingxue could imagine the look of disgust on Chu Yihan's face. An old man who likes to act young. The image of an old naughty child immediately appeared in Su Yingxue's mind. He is known as the poison doctor. Does he often use the method of fighting poison with poison? Yes, and as he has grown older, he only relies on fighting poison with poison. Chu Yihan seemed particularly disdainful of the fact that Saint Juan was getting older. Su Yingxue understood what was going on. She pursed her lips and chuckled. "Your Highness, one, don't know how Saint Juan concocted the medicine, but now I'm going to give it a try." After she finished speaking, she turned around and was about to leave. "Wait," Chu Yihan called out to her. "Tell me when you've concocted the medicine." "Sure." Su Yingxue agreed readily. She locked herself in the treatment room for a day and a night. Using what she had learned and what was recorded in her mother's letter, she made a bowl of thick poison soup with the venom of the beetle, scorpion juice, and other poisons. Chapter 242. Who would test the medicine? The poison had a purplish hue, looking ominous, not to mention the shuddering taste when consumed. But Su Yingxue thought about how Chu Yihan described Saint Juan. The older he got, the more he relied on poisons. This deadly plague was a contagious poison. If he used poison to counteract it, it might just kill the plague. Yet, she couldn't be certain of the potency of this concoction. Manager Qi looked at the poison she had concocted and trembled. "Miss, are you really going to fight poison with poison?" Su Yingxue looked at the bowl of poison that she had concocted and smiled bitterly. Do you have a better idea? Well, why don't we let the doctor in the clinic study it for a few more days? With Ninth Prince outside as our guarantor, Miss doesn't have to be so anxious. Although Manager Qi didn't explicitly say that, he didn't explicitly express doubt about Su Yingxue. He was deeply concerned about the toxicity of the medicine. It would be great if it could be cured, but if it couldn't, you don't have to worry. I won't let you test the medicine. Su Yingxue reassured him with a smile, her mind already calculating the possibilities as she looked at the antidote she had prepared. Manager Qi saw her calm expression and thought, Lai San is already on the brink of death, so letting him try the medicine wouldn't hurt. If Miss decides so, I'll bring this medicine to him. Su Yingxue didn't answer him. Instead, she personally carried the medicine to Lai San's treatment room. As a beggar, he had never seen much of the world. Su Yingxue was as beautiful as a fairy and had taken care of him for so long. Every time she came, Lai San felt like he had seen the hope of life. His filthy face broke into a smile. Fairy. Fairy. However, when he saw that the medicine in Su Yingxue's hand was purple-black in color and had a very strong smell, the fear of death made him subconsciously shrink back into the bed. It's poisonous. This medicine was poisonous. What are you doing? One don't want to die. Of course you don't want to die. Who in this world wants to die? Su Yingxue didn't tell Manager Qi the truth. Manager Qi had always hated Lai San for putting them in this predicament, and didn't treat him well. Lai San was so scared that he curled up in the corner of the bed and cried. I was wrong. I won't be greedy anymore. One want to live. One want to live. Su Yingxue hadn't questioned Lai San for the past few days. Firstly, because his condition was critical, and secondly, because he was an inconspicuous beggar who likely wouldn't have anything valuable to say. However, since he had said it, Su Yingxue couldn't help but ask, Did someone give you money to come to my clinic? Yes, yes. It's a lot of silver coins. Lai San's eyes gleamed. He had taken 2 stacks of silver coins, and there was another stack hidden in a soil jar under a tree outside the city. He originally thought that after finishing this task, he could go back and enjoy a few hearty meals. Little did he know that as soon as he entered this clinic, he almost died here. Who gave you the money? Who is trying to harm the clinic? Manager Qi was so agitated that he wanted to beat Lai San up. No, I don't know. Lai San's eyes were vacant, and his language was limited. All he could say was that the person who gave him the money seemed like a respectable, wealthy individual. Such people were abundant in Jiangdu City. Manager Qi was confused, but Su Yingxue had long understood. She came over to check on Lai San's condition. Seeing that Lai San was so terrified, she comforted him. Don't worry, one won't let you drink this medicine. I'll only use it to treat you if it proves effective after testing. Miss, if you don't let him test the medicine, who do you want to test the medicine with? Manager Qi's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 243. Su Yingxue wants to test the medicine personally. Could it be Manager Qi? Or perhaps Qin Ming? If Su Yingxue had chosen Manager Qi to test the medicine, Manager Qi would have no complaints whatsoever. Miss, Dr. Qin and his apprentice are innocent. This medicine. Let me try. Manager Qi sighed. Who said I wanted you to test the medicine? Su Yingxue chuckled and took the medicine out. In the hall, Qin Ming and his apprentice saw the poisonous concoction in Su Yingxue's hand. Qin Ming relied on his understanding of pharmacology. He speculated. This medicine is extremely poisonous. If used as a counterpoison, it might be effective, but it's only a possibility. It could also be ineffective and cause people to die. Today, in front of all of you, I concocted this antidote and needed someone to test it. However, one guarantee that the person to test it is definitely not one of you. Su Yingxue's smile was exceptionally reassuring. Manager Qi and Qin Ming were both puzzled. Not us? But the clinic was sealed off and no one could enter or leave. Whom do Miss intend to find for the test? Su Yingxue smiled faintly. If we can't get out of the clinic, isn't there still me? You, Miss? Manager Qi and Qin Ming said in unison. Then they shook their heads like rattle drums. No, no. How can we let Miss test the medicine? Why don't you let me try? Miss, you must not put yourself in danger. Your status is so noble. If something happens to you, how will the medical center explain it to the Marquis Mana? Manager Qi and Qin Ming stomped their feet anxiously. Manager Qi even wanted to reach out to snatch the bowl of medicine, but Su Yingxue quickly took it away. I'm telling you this not to ask for your opinion, but to order you. I need one of you to infect me with the deadly plague, and then I'll personally test the medicine. Su Yingxue asserted domineering and left no room for objections. However, the moment she said that, both Manager Qi and Qin Ming retreated far away from her. The two apprentices avoided her as much as they could. Manager Qi vehemently shook his head. Miss, one definitely can't do something that will harm you. It wasn't easy for you to not contract this disease, but now you want to contract this disease for the sake of testing the medicine. One won't agree to it even if you beat me to death. Qin Ming had always been serious, and at this moment, he was also messing around with Manager Qi. I won't agree to this even if you beat me to death. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. So, you're saying I have to knock you unconscious before you agree to infect me? Miss, Manager Qi and Qin Ming's hearts broke down. They had no choice but to get infected, but Su Yingxue was unscathed. This was luck given by the heavens. How could they let her intentionally get infected for the sake of testing the medicine? Manager Qi refused to agree no matter what. He even shouted outside, Your Highness, please take Miss away. Chu Yihan had been standing guard outside the door the entire time. When he heard the commotion, he immediately asked, What happened? No. Nothing. A trace of panic flashed across Su Yingxue's heart as she turned around and glared at Manager Qi. Manager Qi was quite innocent, but he didn't regret his decision at all. Su Yingxue, if you don't tell the truth, I'll break the door now. Chu Yihan spoke with cold anger. Your Highness, you can't. If the door is broken, the deadly plague will spread out and the entire Jiangdu city will be in jeopardy. Liang Jin knelt in front of Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan's brows were tightly furrowed as he shouted from outside the door. Su Yingxue, what are you doing inside? Su Yingxue's scalp went numb. With Chu Yihan's personality, he could break in. After all, her door was not as sturdy as the palace's door. Chu Yihan could break it open with one palm without using the Qingfeng sword. Chapter 244. Chu Yihan entered the medical center. She helplessly said, Your Highness, you should know the meaning of the word a doctor's benevolence, right? What are you trying to say? I mean, as a doctor and the owner of Tongchang Medical Center, it's my responsibility when something like this happens. I have to be accountable for the medical center, and more importantly, for the patients. Get to the point. Chu Yihan interrupted her bluntly. Su Yingxue immediately lowered her voice. I want to get infected and test the medicine myself. Su Yingxue thought that she would hear Chu Yihan's furious voice outside the door. He would scold her, stop her, and even immediately hear the sound of him breaking in. But there was silence outside. After a long time, Chu Yihan's deep and magnetic voice was heard. Because doctors are benevolent. Do you have to do this? Yes. Su Yingxue nodded seriously. No doctor would let a patient die in front of them. If she was willing to give up, Consort Xiang would already be dead. If she was willing to give up, she wouldn't be worthy of being her mother's daughter. All right. Chu Yihan's voice was steady and reassuring. Wait a moment. I still have something else to tell you. When Su Yingxue heard his words, she stood at the door and waited for the time for an incense stick to burn. Her mood gradually became anxious. She wanted to test the medicine as soon as possible and bring closure to this illness. Manager Qi stood behind Su Yingxue, was as anxious as a grasshopper in winter. Why doesn't His Highness persuade Miss? If the old master knew, she would definitely be sad. Qin Ming nodded. If their old master, Long Shuli, knew that Su Yingxue was using her body to test the medicine, she would definitely be heartbroken. But he knew that his old master wouldn't stop her. Because Long Shuli was the same as Su Yingxue, they were both the best doctors in the world. The benevolent heart of a doctor drove them both to put every patient's life before their own, striving to save them. Su Yingxue finally heard some commotion outside the door. A series of footsteps approached the door of the clinic. It wasn't just Chu Yihan. Before Su Yingxue could ask Chu Yihan what he was doing, the door of the clinic was broken open from the outside. Chu Yihan's handsome and upright figure appeared before Su Yingxue, who recoiled in shock. Have you gone mad? How could he come in at this time like this? Behind him, Liang Jin led soldiers, clad in thick clothes. His eyes revealed extreme concern. Your Highness, do you really want to do this? You are the god of war for the people of the great Qing dynasty. How many people would be heartbroken if he risked his life? Chu Yihan hadn't stepped into the clinic yet. Not far behind him, Emochi had already brought soldiers to kneel. Master, please don't risk yourself. The great Qing dynasty needs you. 10 of thousands of soldiers cannot be without a commander. Emochi knelt on the ground and kowtowed until his forehead was broken. Chu Yihan turned a deaf ear to their pleas. After entering the clinic, he ordered Liang Jin, seal the door. Liang Jin saw that Chu Yihan was so determined, and he could only grit his teeth and order his subordinates, seal the door. No one is allowed to enter or leave before the epidemic is resolved. Soon, the door of the clinic was sealed. Su Yingxue looked at Chu Yihan, who had just walked in. Shock, worry, heartache, and countless other complicated emotions flooded her heart like seawater. She even muttered childishly, "Is it still useful to push you out now?" Chu Yihan shook his head. Liang Jin has already sealed the door. He won't open the door until I tell him that the deadly plague has been cured. Su Yingxue lost control of her anger. Chu Yihan, how can you be so willful? If you disregard your life, countless people in the great Qing dynasty still need you as their faith. They still need you to live well. Chapter 245. Chu Yihan tested the medicine for her. Chu Yihan found her quite adorable with the face mask on. He ruffled her hair and said, "But I only live for myself." You. This statement forced Su Yingxue's tears back. She huffed coldly at Chu Yihan. It's useless even if you come in. You're not a doctor and don't know how to treat illnesses. But one can help you test the medicine. Chu Yihan's warm breath brushed against her ear, making her ear tingle. Su Yingxue's heart was instantly set ablaze. Before she could react, Chu Yihan had sealed her acupuncture points, and she stood rooted to the ground, unable to move. Chu Yihan, what are you doing? Let me go. Su Yingxue shouted desperately. Chu Yihan directly lifted her and asked Manager Qi, "Are there any clean places?" "The third floor is Miss' room. Your Highness can arrange for Miss to stay there," Manager Qi told Chu Yihan considerately. Chu Yihan sent Su Yingxue to her room. Su Yingxue was placed on the bed. The only thing she could move was her mouth. She wanted to annoy Chu Yihan so that he could unseal her acupuncture points. Even if he had to throw her out, she would still have a chance to resist. However, Chu Yihan backhandedly pressed on her mute acupoint. Su Yingxue was speechless. "Your Highness, you don't care about martial virtue." The only thing Su Yingxue could move now was her eyes. Chu Yihan saw her eyes moving around and pinched her cheeks. "Do you still want me to strike your sleeping acupoint and make you fall asleep completely?" Su Yingxue's eyes darted around. She thought, "No, Your Highness." Keeping her sober, she always found a way to deal with Chu Yihan, making him leave. Chu Yihan lifted his robe and sat beside her. His eyes were as calm as water. "I'll test the medicine for you. You don't have to worry." Su Yingxue's eyes were bitter. How could she not be worried? He was a prince, the revered king. "If I let you test the medicine, I'll not be at ease." He gently caressed her smooth face, and his gaze was filled with deep affection that Su Yingxue couldn't understand for a moment. He wouldn't feel uneasy, but she would. If anything happened to him, she would never be able to feel at ease for the rest of her life. Chu Yihan saw her eyes reddening and tears were flowing from the corners of her eyes. He lowered his head and kissed the corner of her eyes. His voice was like a hot spring as he said, "Your personality is very similar to Saint Ruan's. Since you've thought of the method of fighting poison with poison, one believes that you're right." Therefore, I'll take on the opportunity to test the medicine. No. Su Yingxue wouldn't agree. Even if only her eyeballs could move, she had to stop him. Chu Yihan, don't do this to her. She wasn't worth his life. Little furball, even if I die, you're my only wife. I won't go back on my words. This was the only sentence that lingered in Su Yingxue's mind before she fell into a deep sleep. Chu Yihan closed the door to her room and walked downstairs. He extended his hand to Manager Qi and the others with a cold expression. Let me infect with the deadly plague. This, Manager Qi shivered in fear. Qin Ming and the two apprentices retreated continuously. Your Highness, you are the supreme ruler, commanding the three armies. This is not permissible. Do you intend to defy my orders? Chu Yihan's eyes emitted a dangerous aura, and the atmosphere in the entire hall dropped, making everyone's breathing quicken. Manager Qi shook his head. Your Highness, we didn't even allow Miss to test the medicine. How could you? I don't want to say it a second time. Chu Yihan remained calm and decisive. No one dared to disobey him. Chapter 246. Made great contributions no matter how afraid Manager Qi and the others were. They had to follow his orders and remove their masks to approach him. The disease spread rapidly. In less than half a day, Chu Yihan's body started to itch. When he scratched, pus appeared. When he started to vomit, Manager Qi held Su Yingxue's bowl of medicine in front of him. Your Highness, no one knows the medicinal properties of this medicine. If you can't detoxify it after taking it, I trust her. Chu Yihan drank up the medicine with his head tilted back after he said these words. The people in the medical center not only admired Chu Yihan's courage, but also respected his determination. Su Yingxue slept for a long time, and her dreams were filled with nightmares. She called out in a hoarse voice, Chu Yihan, Chu Yihan, Chu Yihan. This madman, this foolish prince. He disregarded everything, broke in, knocked her out, and even helped her test the medicine. He was an unparalleled fool. Chu Yihan. Su Yingxue seemed to have broken through the shackles of her body. She suddenly sat up on the bed and almost punched someone in the face. Her hand was grabbed by someone, and Chu Yihan's deep and sexy voice was heard. There's no other face in the entire Great Qing dynasty that's as good-looking as mine. Take a good look. Su Yingxue pinched herself hard. Oh, it hurts. It wasn't particularly painful, but Chu Yihan was really shameless. Your Highness, you're still alive? Or are we all dead? Su Yingxue looked at him in a daze. Chu Yihan's face darkened. You as a doctor, how could you ask such a stupid question? That's right. She was a doctor. Senior. Oh no, a junior in experience. Su Yingxue grabbed Chu Yihan's wrist and checked his pulse. His pulse was stable and his body showed no abnormalities. She would never believe that she was just dreaming. Could it be that my medicine? Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with disbelief and also carried a hint of joy. Dr. Su, you've made a great contribution this time and cured the deadly plague. Have you thought about what rewards you want when you go to the court in the future? Chu Yihan smiled. It was like the wind in March, warming up one's heart. Tears of excitement welled up in Su Yingxue's eyes. She reached out and hugged Chu Yihan, her voice slightly hoarse. Your Highness, thank you. He trusted her so much. He had risked his life for her. There were still some scars on Chu Yihan's body, but the deadly plague had already been treated. As long as he applied ointment on these scars, they would heal in 2 to 3 days. When he recovered, the crisis in their medical center would be resolved. Su Yingxue brought him downstairs and saw that Manager Qi and Qin Ming were wearing masks, but the sores on their faces had all disappeared. Everyone exchanged smiles. They were all happy that they had survived a disaster. However, Su Yingxue still reminded them not to let their guard down. She ordered Manager Qi to retrieve all the mugwort, Angelica dehurica, and Astragalus membranaceus from the medicine warehouse. A portion of it was boiled into soup for daily consumption, and another part was powdered, mixed with lime, and sprinkled throughout every corner of the medical center. After 3 days of this regimen, everyone's bodies were clean and clear. Even Lai San, who was the most seriously ill at the beginning, could see his facial features clearly and had regained his complexion. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Su Yingxue. Living deity. A life-saving living deity. One will never harm anyone again. Never again. It's good that you know. Don't risk your life for ill-gotten gains. Su Yingxue warned him. She didn't need to know how Lai San would react. Right now, she wanted to discuss with Chu Yihan how to get Liang Jin to open the door and inform the people outside that she had developed a medicine that could cure the deadly plague. Chapter 247. Chu Yihan broke the door. However, just as she turned around to leave, she choked on a strong smell of smoke. This is what was going on. Chu Yihan. The front hall was already filled with ashes. Su Yingxue couldn't see anything clearly. Even the backyard of the medical center was ablaze. Su Yingxue hurriedly instructed, "Manager Qi, extinguish the fire." Cough cough. Miss, this is Lord Liang's doing. He claims to have received the emperor's decree and wants to burn everyone in our medical center to death. Manager Qi was also choked badly. He covered his face and directed a few servants to put out the fire. Su Yingxue's eyes were blurred by the thick smoke, and she couldn't see anything clearly. In the midst of the fire, someone grabbed her waist and her body flew into the air, breaking through the roof. Chu Yihan landed with her to the ground. Liang Jin held a torch and looked at Chu Yihan in shock. Your Highness, are you all right? The deadly plague has been cured. Who gave you the order to set the fire? Chu Yihan was furious, his wrath echoed for miles. Everyone threw down their weapons and knelt before him. Liang Jin replied truthfully, Your Highness, it was the emperor's order to burn down the clinic to prevent the spread of the deadly plague. He ordered to burning of the medical center, and the people inside were to be executed without mercy. Liang Jin was in a difficult position. Before he received the imperial edict, he had also petitioned the palace, stating that Chu Yihan had entered to test the medicine, and at the very least, they should wait for him to come out and see the results before making a decision. However, the emperor insisted on burning down the medical center. Not only did he want to burn down the medical center, but even the people who had returned home from the clinic, along with their families, were all arrested and prepared to be executed and buried alive. Mo Qi, extinguish the fire. With Chu Yihan's order, Mo Qi immediately led his troops to extinguish the fire. The troops in Liang Jin's hands were no match for Chu Yihan's soldiers. However, what made him even more anxious was the direction Chu Yihan had left in with Su Yingxue. They were heading toward the imperial palace. In the hall of diligent government, Chu Jinling and Chu Qingye both knelt in front of Chu Mingyuan. Chu Qingye passionately argued that burning the medical center and killing people at this moment would cause widespread panic among the common people, eroding trust in the court. They should consider better alternatives. However, Chu Jinling said simply, Father, imperial uncle is still inside. If you kill him, won't it leave an eternal infamy in the hearts of the people? The bordering countries are eyeing us covetously. They might also take this opportunity to invade our dynasty. Enough. Chu Mingyuan slammed the teacup down. The tea splashed on their faces. Chu Jinling and Chu Qingye knelt and kowtowed. Father, please calm down. Calm down? Are you trying to appease me? Don't think that I don't know year. You've been bewitched by Su Yingxue and single-mindedly wanting to protect her. And you linger. You only care about your imperial uncle. What border countries are eyeing them covetously? Have you ever thought about how many people will die in Jiangdu City if the two of them don't die? Chu Mingyuan's scolding made the two princes unable to lift their heads. Chu Jinling, who usually had little interaction with Chu Qingye, lowered his head and gave him a meaningful look. Father likes you the most. You should beg father again. If imperial uncle and imperial aunt both died, how was he going to write his book? His future days would be so boring. He didn't want it. Chu Qingye glared at him. If you have the ability, why don't you plead yourself? Chu Jinling muttered to himself. If he was the prince who was regarded as the heir, why would he still be begging here? He would have already rushed into the medical center with his men and rescued his imperial uncle and imperial aunt. What was the point of all this effort? If the two of us die, Imperial Brother will be able to sit on the dragon throne without any worries? Chu Yihan's voice came from afar, like a meteorite crashing into the hall. Chapter 248. Chu Yihan is safe and sound. Everyone knelt and greeted. Ninth Prince. As they looked closer, they saw that he was accompanied by Su Yingxue. The expressions of the officials in the court were not too pleasant, but none of them dared to stand up in front of Chu Yihan. However, some of them were very aggrieved. For example, Su Dingheng. Did he just kneel to his daughter? How awkward. As Su Yingxue walked past him, he originally intended to stand up. However, he sensed Chu Yihan's sharp gaze sweep past him, his legs went limp, and his knees thudded heavily on the ground again. Father's leg really hurt. For the first time, Chu Mingyuan couldn't control his expression in front of the officials. Chu Yihan, you are outrageous. If he had a weapon in his hand, he would definitely stab Chu Yihan with his sword. He was rebelling against his superiors. You disregarded your prestigious status, entered the epidemic zone alone, and now, you actually dared to spread this disease to the imperial court. Do you want to destroy the great Qing dynasty? Chu Mingyuan reprimanded sternly. If it was said that he feared and respected Chu Yihan in the past, it was now a bone-deep hatred for him. He wanted nothing more than to immediately behead Chu Yihan and show him to the public. Chu Qingye quickly retreated to the side and covered his mouth and nose with his hand. Imperial uncle, stop. If you take another step forward, I will order the Imperial Guards to show you no mercy. What right do you have to speak to me like this? Chu Yihan reprimanded his nephew and gave him a backhand slap, causing him to vomit blood. Pfft. Chu Qingye felt a sharp pain in his heart. Imperial uncle, are you crazy? Chu Jinling didn't move away from Chu Yihan to maintain a distance. He was indeed shocked. Su Yingxue looked at his adorable head and stroked his hair. Your imperial uncle is fine. He's doing very well. That's good. Chu Jinling heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was fine. Imperial uncle was infected with an illness and was cured? Chu Jinling was the first to react, and his eyes lit up. What? Cured? This is the deadly plague. Could it be that poison Dr. Saint Juan has returned? He had resolved the calamity of the Jiangdu city? The officials discussed animatedly. They were no longer afraid of Chu Yihan approaching them. Emperor, it's a blessing for our great Qing dynasty that His Highness' body has recovered. Su Dingheng took the opportunity to flatter, and the civil officials followed suit. Chu Mingyuan's heartbeat slowed down as he looked at Chu Yihan suspiciously. Are you truly cured? Or are you here for revenge in the court? Does Imperial Brother think that everyone is like you, only capable of burning down the medical center? Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with contempt. He had no intention of respecting Chu Mingyuan as the emperor. Chu Mingyuan restrained his temper and waved his dragon robe. Summon the court physician. If you are not unharmed, one will impose the severest punishment on you. Chu Mingyuan, who had always cared for the people and the court officials, desperately hoped that Chu Yihan still had the deadly plague. It would give them a reason to have him executed cruelly, even if it meant paying a significant cost. The court physician arrived very quickly. He cowered and checked Chu Yihan's pulse. When he found no abnormalities, he relieved kowtowed to Chu Mingyuan. Reporting to the emperor, His Highness is unharmed. His Highness is unharmed. With no deadly plague on him, everyone in the Hall of Diligent Government heaved a sigh of relief. The civil and military officials all knelt and shouted, God bless our great Qing dynasty. God bless the emperor. There was no joy in Chu Mingyuan's eyes. He could feel the hostility in Chu Yihan's gaze. Chu Yihan knew that the moment he entered the medical center, Chu Mingyuan had the intention to burn the medical center down. However, with the civil and military officials vehemently opposing, it wasn't until today that he could give the order to set the clinic on fire. Yet he didn't expect. Chapter 249. Behind the conspiracy. Chu Yihan. Are you really blessed by Father? This isn't a matter of God's blessing, but rather Su Yingxue developed the antidote. Instead of commendation, Imperial Brother set fire to her medical center. Don't you need to give her an explanation? Chu Yihan's voice was cold, yet authoritative, making it impossible for anyone to refute or dare to refute. Explanation? This illness was passed down from her medical center. Everything started because of her. I'm not investigating her faults, and she still wants commendation. Chu Mingyuan vented his anger at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue knelt on the cold ground. Emperor, please forgive me. Indeed, this disease originated from my clinic. But it was not intentional for it to spread. The disease still exists, posing a threat not only to the Great Qing dynasty, but also to the entire medical community. I am willing to submit the detoxification formula to be archived by the Imperial Medical Academy to compensate for my mistake. Su Yingxue kowtowed devoutly. Her calmness and generosity won the admiration of many officials. Even Chu Qingye, who was helped to stand on the side, couldn't help but glance at her. He could see the awe-inspiring righteousness and courage of a woman in her. Chu Mingyuan thought for a moment and knew that Su Yingxue was smart. She left behind the antidote. This was far better than letting him punish her. It was much more beneficial to vent some anger. If the disease reappeared in the future, the imperial court wouldn't have to panic or fear. It would further contribute to stabilizing the people's hearts. Chu Mingyuan's eyes showed approval. Su Yingxue, you're so generous and decent, and you've worked hard to develop the antidote. I won't pursue your fault, but one won't reward you either. After all, this deadly plague originated in your medical center. Yes, I thank the emperor for not punishing me. Su Yingxue kowtowed. Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. Su Yingxue quickly hugged his thigh. Your Highness, don't speak. Don't say anything. She was afraid that Chu Mingyuan would be angered to death. Chu Yihan remained silent, but he was also upset with her. When Chu Mingyuan announced the dispersal of the court, Su Dingheng appeared out of nowhere. With a humble face, he walked to Su Yingxue and said to Chu Yihan with awe, Your Highness, my daughter has worked hard in dealing with the disease these days. Could you allow me to bring her home for recuperation? Chu Yihan grabbed Su Yingxue's hand. His eyes clearly conveyed a refusal. However, Su Yingxue broke free from him and smiled gently. Thank you, Your Highness. I'll go home with my father for now. Su Yingxue's reaction was beyond Su Dingheng's expectations. Chu Yihan was comforted by her gaze, and was persuaded to leave. Once he left, Su Dingheng dared to lift his sleeves and wipe the sweat off his forehead. He still wanted to throw a tantrum whenever he saw Su Yingxue, but because he was in the palace, he restrained himself. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? If Ninth Prince hadn't recovered, the entire Marquis Manor would have been implicated because of you. Father, it might not be the case. A dark glint flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. This gaze suddenly made Su Dingheng uneasy. How did you know? Su Dingheng blurted out. Realizing what he had said, he quickly frowned. Don't talk nonsense. I haven't said anything yet. Father, why are you so nervous? You have the cure for the deadly plague, but you didn't give it to me. I don't need it anymore. Su Yingxue's laughter was very soft, but it suddenly smashed a hole through Su Dingheng's heart. Su Dingheng's lips turned pale. How did you know? He hadn't even had the chance to report this matter to the emperor. Chapter 250. Make peace with Su Dingheng. Su Jinxian had painstakingly found this prescription outside. He was afraid of getting infected by Su Yingxue's illness, so he dared not have someone deliver it directly to the medical center. Moreover, he coveted this immense credit, and wanted to present it to Chu Mingyuan during the morning court to receive a reward. This prescription was enough to elevate his official rank by 2 levels. However, Chu Yihan suddenly brought Su Yingxue to the court. Liang Jin had reported that Chu Yihan was confirmed to be infected, but now that he was declared cured, and Su Yingxue publicly mentioned presenting the prescription to the Imperial Medical Academy, his prescription became useless. Although he didn't get a promotion, Su Yingxue gained face in the Imperial Court. In the future, leveraging her influence, he wouldn't be afraid of missing opportunities for advancement and wealth. But how did Su Yingxue get wind of this? How could she know about this? Father, don't be afraid. If one can settle the matter, I definitely won't make things difficult for you. Moreover, being valued by the emperor also adds luster to your face, doesn't it? Our Marquis manner will benefit as well. Su Yingxue smiled obediently. Accustomed to her defiance, Su Dingheng was momentarily stunned. You don't blame me for not caring about you? Su Yingxue shook her head. Su Dingheng felt a twinge of guilt in his heart. Actually, it's not that I don't want to give you the prescription. I wanted the emperor to intervene and save you. Initially, he didn't want Su Yingxue's life. After all, she was his daughter, and it involved the honor and disgrace of the Marquis manor. However, Lu Shulan advised him that bestowing grace from the emperor was giving face to the emperor, and it wouldn't hinder Su Yingxue's life. Su Yingxue smiled and said, Father's considerations weren't wrong. Fortunately, one inherited mother's medical skills, and this time, one haven't brought shame to our Marquis manor. Let this matter rest. I need to return to the medical center for the aftermath. The medical center was burned, and its repair will take time. I want to recuperate in the manor for a while. Of course. You've worked hard to develop the antidote. I'll send some tonics to your courtyard, and instruct the kitchen to prepare dinner for you. Su Dingheng and Su Yingxue walked together. The father-daughter appeared amiable, seen by others as a display of filial piety. When Su Yingxue returned to the medical center, the guards had already withdrawn, but the medical center had been burned to a pulp. Liang Jin specially waited in the medical center. When Su Yingxue returned, he conveyed Chu Minjiwan's decree. The emperor has decreed that Su Yingxue, for her achievements in overcoming the epidemic, is to be granted assistance from the Ministry of Works for the repair of the clinic. Compensation will be provided for those affected, and when the medical center is fully restored, an imperial plague will be bestowed. Su Yingxue knelt. Thank you for the emperor's grace. Rise, genius doctor. Even though he knew her identity, Liang Jin still couldn't help but address her as such. He had already been shocked by her too much. When he saw her now, the shock on his face had not dissipated. You're really the great fortune of the great Qing dynasty. 10 years ago, the poison doctor could cure the deadly plague, but he looked down on the imperial court. Now that you have also cured the deadly plague, you took the initiative to hand over the prescription to the Imperial Medical Academy. You have really contributed to the country. A small contribution, not worth mentioning. One will strive to make more contributions in the future. Su Yingxue smiled. Her words were filled with extraordinary confidence. It was a unique beauty that transcended her appearance. Liang Jin smiled in relief. He assured her that he would supervise the Ministry of Works to ensure a thorough renovation of her medical center, making it even more magnificent than before. Su Yingxue expressed her gratitude to him, and went in to gather Manager Qi and the others. She granted them an extended leave, and allowed them to go home on paid leave for rest and recuperation. Qin Ming and the apprentices expressed their gratitude, but Manager Qi shook his head. The branch in the west of the city has just opened. I can go there to help. Rest is unnecessary for me. Miss, you should return to the Marquis manor, and take a good rest for a few days. Chapter 251. Audit. Knowing that Manager Qi was a workaholic, Su Yingxue didn't force him. She returned to the study in the backyard, and was troubled by the numerous medical books there. There was still so much she wanted to learn, and leaving them here might attract unwanted attention. After a brief consideration, she decided to move all the medical books and items in the study into Medicine King Valley. This way, no one could steal them, and only she could access them. However, this was not a small project. Little ginseng floated around in her sea of consciousness, not offering a helping hand. When she complained of fatigue, it even criticized her. You're moving so slowly. You're really useless. You're so good at making sarcastic remarks. Won't you come and help? Su Yingxue rolled her eyes at it. Little ginseng pouted proudly. Have you ever seen a ginseng moving things? You can let me broaden my horizons. I, as a ginseng, don't have the time for such trivial tasks. Hey, you dropped something. There's a black box in the corner. Little Ginseng reminded her kindly. Su Yingxue hadn't noticed yet, but in the corner of the bookshelf, there was a large box, dark and imposing. She tried to open it but found a lock on the box that was completely different from the usual locks they used. It had no keyhole, only a string of symbols she couldn't understand, and it could be rotated. She tried to turn the lock, but no matter what she did, she couldn't unlock it. Little Ginseng saw that she was sweating profusely, and that the box was still intact. It waved its whisker and said, "This thing doesn't belong here." "Doesn't belong here?" Su Yingxue rubbed this special lock and raised her eyebrows. Little Ginseng's tone became serious. "One haven't seen this thing in thousands of years. It definitely doesn't belong here. You better keep it." Su Yingxue threw the box into the Medicine King Valley. However, since the box couldn't be opened, she didn't pay much attention to it. She didn't expect that when the box was opened, it would unveil a whole new world in her life. Su Yingxue rushed back to the Marquis Manor after she was done with her work. Su Dingheng brought Su Yuro to the flower hall, and waited for her for a long time. The rare occasion of the three family members sitting together for a meal. As soon as Su Yingxue sat down, Su Dingheng picked up a piece of meat for her. "You've worked hard these days. Eat more. It's not good to lose weight from hunger." "Yes, thank you, father." Su Yingxue was unusually obedient. She glanced at Su Yuro across from her, and the look in her eyes seemed like she wanted to devour her. She was such a disappointment. Su Yuro and her mother's plan had failed to kill her. Su Yingxue enjoyed the meal, but Su Yuro wore a stern face. Even Su Dingheng looked displeased as he glanced at her. "Ruer, your sister's favorite dishes are with you. Hurry up and serve some to her." Su Yuro quickly smiled. "Yes, father. Sister risked her life and made a great contribution. She should eat more." Su Yingxue put down her chopsticks and said with a smile, "Thank you. I'm full." She got up and said that she wanted to go back to rest. Su Dingheng didn't stop her. Su Yingxue pretended to mention it unintentionally. "Father, have you paid attention to the account books of the few shops in your hands recently? Check if the income and money are in order." Su Dingheng was stunned. Why bring this up all of a sudden? He trusted Lu Shulan, and he had entrusted her with the account books and money. It had been long since he last checked. "This time my medical center was burned down, and some of the account books were damaged. As one went through them, I found several mistakes. I thought of reminding father." Su Yingxue's eyes were pure as she left after saying that. Su Dingheng thought that she was just giving a well-intentioned reminder, and planned to check with Lu Shulan later that night. Chapter 252. Like him so much. When Su Yuro heard this, her brows furrowed tightly. What does Su Yingxue know? She mumbled and quietly left the manor after dinner to sneak to her mother's place. In Su Yingxue's courtyard, Jilan assisted her in bathing and changing. While she appeared composed outside, she couldn't help but complain in front of Su Yingxue. "Marquis is only polite to Miss because Miss has achieved something. Before that, when Miss was trapped in the medical center, we were worried to death, but Master sealed off our courtyard. He said if Miss couldn't return, he would hand over all of us, the servants, for execution." Su Yingxue had already expected Jilan to say this. "You've all worked hard during this time." "Miss, how can this be considered hard? We as servants don't seek much. We only hope to serve Master well." Marquis' heart had long been outside. "Miss, you still care so much about Marquis." "Who said I care about him?" Su Yingxue's lips curved into a smile. The bathroom was filled with mist. Her unparalleled beauty seemed ethereal in the mist, like a dream. "Miss, didn't you remind Master to check the accounts?" Jilan was puzzled. If he doesn't check the accounts, how would he know how much money Lu Shulan used, collaborating with Silver Moon Pavilion, and creating such a deadly plague to harm me? Su Yingxue flickered the water droplets on her fingertips, and a hint of sharpness appeared in her watery eyes. Jilan was greatly shocked when she heard this. She was about to shout out indignantly, but seeing that Su Yingxue was so calm, she thought about it and said in a low voice, "Miss, you've considered everything thoroughly." Su Yingxue stretched out her hand from the bathtub and pinched Xilan's moist face. My little maid. When did you become so composed? In the past, she loved to shout. Jilan felt a little embarrassed. Old Madame Zhang has been talking to me a lot these days, imparting some principles. As attendants close to Miss, we must be more composed so as not to drag Miss down. Xu Yan often comes to convey the eldest young master's instructions. In everything, one must not panic, and must be as calm as Miss in times of crisis to be a useful loyal servant. That brat Xu Yan, could it be that he's using brother's name to bully you? Su Yingxue tilted her head and looked a little cute. Jilan blushed. No. He was very good. Miss, don't worry about me. Well, since you like him so much, one won't worry them. Su Yingxue patted her head. Xilan's face flushed red, but she dared not talk back to her. Su Yingxue came out of the shower, and there was a pervasive sense of killing intent in the room. When Jilan saw Ziwei, she immediately protected Su Yingxue. This is Miss Boudoir. As a grown man, you should be careful. Don't come in often. If people find out, how will Miss get married in the future? Ziwei's eyes narrowed. Obviously, after so many years as an assassin, he didn't understand these things. He turned around and let Su Yingxue enter the inner room to change her clothes. Su Yingxue called out to him, and he slowly turned around. He lowered his head and said hoarsely, "I'm sorry. It's fine. There's no need to be constrained by these things in the future." After Su Yingxue sat up, she poured a cup of tea for Ziwei and gestured for him to sit down. Ziwei remained motionless, held a knife, and stood in place. He briefly described the situation in Yaoguang Garden. Your father left in anger. When Ziwei saw him return to the Marquis Manor, he came back to report to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue chuckled. Knowing that a significant amount of silver is missing but not knowing where it went, my father has every reason to be angry. Chapter 253. Lu Shulan was infected, she harmed you. Ziwei's eyes flashed with a sudden hint of killing intent. No big deal. Tonight, we'll visit her. Su Yingxue brought Ziwei to Yaoguang Garden. Ziwei observed that Lu Shulan would drink a cup of honey water before she went to bed for beauty purposes. Su Yingxue brought a cup over and poured the honey water from Lu Shulan's cup into the cup she brought. Ziwei noticed that the cup she brought was heavily wrapped, and she didn't even touch the cup with her fingers. He asked mildly why. Su Yingxue was lying on the beam with him. When she saw Lu Shulan drink the cup of honey water, she chuckled and said, "That cup was used by Lai San." Lu Shulan collaborated with Silver Moon Pavilion to harm her. This cup of honey water was her small retaliation against Lu Shulan. As for Silver Moon Pavilion, she instructed Ziwei to keep watch for a few days, and bring her here when people from Silver Moon Pavilion arrived at Yaoguang Garden. In less than 2 days, Ziwei told her, Hong Lian has appeared. Su Yingxue nodded. Let's go and meet her. She and Ziwei arrived at Yaoguang Garden. From the roof, they could clearly see the chaos inside. Su Yuro cried miserably in her room. Mother, how did you become like this? How did one get infected with this deadly plague? I'm scared. Su Yingxue's lips curled up. She squatted down and watched the people busy themselves for a long time before Hong Lian finally appeared. The moment she entered the room, the cries and screams inside ceased. Su Yingxue clicked her tongue and sighed. She's indeed the person who poisoned Lai San. She immediately cured the poison. Hong Lian had brought Saint Ruan's antidote for Lu Shulan. However, when she saw Lu Shulan's scarred face, she frowned. Could it be that you were careless and contracted the deadly plague? Lu Shulan shook her head vigorously. That's impossible. One didn't even handle the things you gave me. I handed them over to the servants. After Lai San got infected, I executed that servant and burned his body. 1. I shouldn't get infected. Did you deliberately harm my mother? You took so much money from us and caused my mother to get sick. Su Yuro dared not get close. She hid behind the folding screen and cried out. A sudden murderous intent gathered in Hong Lian's eyes. Lu Shulan quickly tried to smooth things over. My daughter said it unintentionally. I hope that Pavilion Master will not take it to heart because of her young age. It's just that my illness is really strange. Pavilion Master, please forgive me. Hong Lian also knew that her illness was peculiar. She asked her to take out all the things she had used recently, and even asked her to record all the people she had come into contact with. Among the people she had been in contact with, none were related to Su Yingxia's medical center. As for the things she had used, Hong Lian looked at the row of teacups and bowls in front of her, and gently picked up a small cup with a handkerchief. Lu Shulan recognized it. This is the teacup I use every night for honey water. Hong Lian's eyes revealed a trace of disdain as she threw the cup in front of her. This is Su Yingxia's gift to you. When the inconspicuous porcelain cup rolled in front of Lu Shulan, the words Tongchang Medical Center were engraved on the bottom of the cup. Lu Shulan was shocked. Su Yingxia. She could actually change the cup she drank from. How terrifying was that? Mother, it's Su Yingxia who harmed you? This bitch. Let's go back and tell father to kill her. Su Yuro shouted angrily. Kill her. Hong Lian chuckled. Madam Lu, your daughter is vicious but she's stupid and ignorant. Silver Moon Pavilion doesn't do business with stupid people. In the future, there's no need for you to come to the Silver Moon Pavilion. Chapter 254. Kneel and apologize. Lu Shulan dared not refute Hong Lian's words. Once she left, she quickly ordered someone to throw the cup out and burn it. Su Yuro continued to cry and fuss behind the folding screen. Mother! She insulted me. That bitch Su Yingxia should be killed. Shut up. Hasn't the scolding awakened you? If this matter reaches your father's ears, he will be the first to kill both of us. Lu Shulan's slender nails dug into the flesh of her palm, and blood dripped down her palm. Su Yingxia was indeed clever and a formidable opponent. However, she had never expected that she wouldn't reveal the truth after finding out that it was her, causing her to contract this disease. Hong Lian's antidote was still brewing. At this moment, all the pustules on Lu Shulan's body had been scratched open, and yellow liquid and blood flowed all over her body. She looked at herself in the mirror, ugly, bald, and on the verge of collapse. Once Hong Lian left the Yaoguang garden, the assassins she brought with her surrounded her. In a dark alley, Su Yingxia and Ziwei appeared together. Su Yingxia smiled. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, with such formidable martial arts skills, why bring so many assassins? It seems you have made quite a few enemies. Hong Lian's crimson eyes narrowed slightly, emitting a burst of murderous intent. Su Yingxia, do you think that you have the right to boast in front of me just because you survived a great disaster? Her aura was strong, while Su Yingxia and Ziwei seemed frail. However, Su Yingxia showed no hint of fear throughout her body. Today one not only want to boast in front of you, but also make you kowtow and apologize to me. What audacity! One think you're tired of living. Hong Lian was so angry that her hands trembled. She wished she could wave her hand and give the order to chop Su Yingxia into meat paste. The assassin beside her took a step forward, and Ziwei immediately protected Su Yingxia. Even though he remained silent, the intense killing intent emanating from his was enough to make the assassins around Hong Lian halt. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, one advise you to let the people around you leave. Otherwise, your subordinates will see your embarrassing appearance later. Su Yingxia raised her eyebrows as if she was taking a leisurely stroll. Hong Lian gritted her teeth. What right do you have? Because I know that Silver Moon Pavilion harbors the source of the deadly plague, and has unleashed this harmful poison in Jiangdu City. Just this alone is already a violation of the alliance agreement between the Silver Moon Pavilion and the various countries. What a joke! Would my Silver Moon Pavilion be afraid of your threats? Hong Lian sneered. Of course you're not afraid, but what about the Great Qing dynasty? His Highness, with tens of thousands of elite troops, will you be afraid? Once the Emperor learns that Silver Moon Pavilion has caused trouble in Jiangdu City, he will not tolerate it. If His Highness is ordered to intervene, do you think he will spare Silver Moon Pavilion? Su Yingxia raised her eyebrows, and her eyes were filled with a blatant threat. Su Yingxia, how dare you use His Highness to threaten me? Hong Lian's eyes glared fiercely. Didn't you threaten me with His Highness? If it wasn't for His Highness risking his life to test the medicine for me, what would Jiangdu City be like now? Do you think that if you manage to produce the cure for the deadly plague, the Emperor won't find out about your conspiracy, and His Highness won't kill you? Su Yingshi's sonorous and powerful voice pierced Hong Lian's heart. This time, Su Yingxue truly had a hold over Hong Lian. It was fine if she brought disaster to other countries, but Jiangdu City was under the guardianship of Chu Yihan. If he learned about this matter, the relationship between Silver Moon Pavilion and him wouldn't save her position in his heart. Hong Lian gritted her teeth in hatred. Su Yingxue, what do you want? I told you to kneel and kowtow an apology. Chapter 255. The pain of piercing bones. I told you to kneel and kowtow an apology. Su Yingshi's lips always carried a faint smile. The anger in Hong Lian's heart surged out. Su Yingxue, how you dare! She, Hong Lian, was the pavilion master of Silver Moon Pavilion. She was proud and even surpassed princesses and county princesses. Su Yingxue actually dared to make her kneel? Why wouldn't I dare? If you don't kneel, they'll bring Lu Shulan to the emperor right now. There will definitely be a battle between the Great Qing dynasty and the Silver Moon Pavilion. The one leading the army to kill you will definitely be His Highness. You've admired His Highness for so long. Why don't you try dying under his sword? The moonlight shone on Su Yingshi's beautiful face, reflecting the coldness in her eyes. Her gaze was like an unsheathed sword, making people dare not look directly at her. Hong Lian's body trembled slightly. A thought flashed through her mind. Kill Su Yingxue. Now. Immediately. Right away. It's curfew time now. If you move against me, the city defense army is also His Highness' army. You can't kill me. Su Yingxue smiled and cut off the last trace of thought in Hong Lian's heart. The assassins around Hong Lian were trembling. They had been raised in the Silver Moon Pavilion for so long, and Hong Lian, ruthless and merciless, had never hesitated to kill or act. Although they could clearly sense the murderous intent emanating from Hong Lian, they never heard her order to attack. It wasn't until Hong Lian said in a deep voice, "All of you get lost. Pavilion Master, get lost." Hong Lian sternly scolded, and the 19 assassins immediately disappeared without a trace. Hong Lian walked toward Su Yingxue, lowered her head, and knelt before her. The moment her knees touched the ground, the corners of Su Yingshi's mouth curled up slightly. Don't you know how to apologize? Silver Moon Pavilion has acted inappropriately. One asked the eldest young miss of the Marquis Manor for forgiveness. Please don't hold it against Silver Moon Pavilion. Hong Lian lowered her head to hide the humiliation on her face. All right. Su Yingxue agreed, but she didn't ask Hong Lian to stand up. She stood quietly for 15 minutes while Hong Lian knelt for 15 minutes. Only after Su Yingxue left with Ziwei did Hong Lian slowly stand up. Even after they turned down a corner, Su Yingxue could still sense the destructive killing intent of Hong Lian. Ziwei spoke solemnly. Why? Are you asking me why I made Hong Lian kneel before me instead of directly informing the Emperor or His Highness? Su Yingxue winked at Ziwei like a fairy. Ziwei's heart skipped a beat. He lowered his head and grunted hoarsely. Hong Lian is Silver Moon Pavilion Master. It's not that easy to eliminate the Silver Moon Pavilion. All the previous attempts by various countries only resulted in mutual damage to Silver Moon Pavilion. The Emperor might not exterminate Silver Moon Pavilion, but His Highness would genuinely be angry. By probing Hong Lian this way, she had proven something. Silver Moon Pavilion might not fear the Emperor, but they fear His Highness. Likely, the relationship between His Highness and Silver Moon Pavilion is not simple. Therefore, Hong Lian, engaging in this business, must be doing it behind His Highness' back. If Chu Yihan knew about this, things wouldn't be solved by just kneeling before her. You seem quite pleasant, Ziwei said with certainty. Su Yingxue didn't hide her smile at all. Yes, Hong Lian is my enemy. She even set us up last time. Of course, I'm happy to make her suffer. Ziwei didn't think much of it. In the eyes of an assassin, if someone was an enemy, even if she could survive, she had to suffer significant harm. The battle between women is unlike that of men. Hong Lian is proud and arrogant. Even if she suffers physical injuries, she can recover easily. But damaging her pride, undermining her sharpness, can cripple her to the point where she can't lift her head. Chapter 256. Marquis Manor's stewardship. Making Hong Lian kneel before her tonight was akin to subjecting her to bone-piercing torture. The humiliation today would be etched in Hong Lian's memory for the rest of her life. Kill with precision, use different methods for each person. Su Yingxue poked Ziwei's face as if she were teaching him. Ziwei didn't understand these intricacies. He would only brandish his saber and risk his life whenever Su Yingxue faced danger. However, Su Yingxue had tasted the sweetness. Hong Lian would prostrate herself before her, and the same fate awaited Lu Shulan and her daughter. In her previous life, she was treated like a fool, and those who humiliated her would pay a brutal price in this life. Lu Shulan and her daughter had taken the initiative to attack her so many times. As her medical center was closed for a break, she had the perfect opportunity to strike back at them. Su Yingxue refurbished her medical center, taking the time to rest, hone her medical skills, and rejuvenate her spirits. In order to see her, Su Hao also came back a few more times. Seeing that her relationship with Su Dingheng had improved, he was puzzled but refrained from asking questions. It wasn't until Su Yingxue brought it up. "Father, there's something I'd like to discuss with you." Su Dingheng put down the tea in his hand and looked at her seriously. "What's the matter?" "Mother has passed away for many years, and there has been no mistress in the Marquis Manor. You have to attend court and manage the household, which is truly busy. One feel a bit sorry for father." Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with sincerity. Su Dingheng was touched at first, until she continued, "I've been idle recently. Why not let me take care of the household for you? It would also lighten your burden." There's no need for that." Su Dingheng looked a little uncomfortable. Su Yingxue already held a significant portion of shops, and most of the Marquis Manor's finances were under her control. If she took over the household affairs, wouldn't he, as the father, be sidelined? Su Dingheng would never allow himself to fall into such a situation. He coughed lightly. "Cough, how can an unmarried girl like you manage the household? The affairs of the house are incredibly intricate and complicated." "It is precisely because I haven't married yet that one want to learn. Otherwise, when one marry into my husband's family, it'll be the subject of ridicule. Our Marquis Manor would be blamed for not raising me properly." Su Yingxue looked aggrieved. This. Su Dingheng was speechless. He didn't want to relinquish power, but Su Yingxue's words were reasonable. Just when he felt relieved that Su Yingxue had been obedient for 2 days, she now seemed to be aiming to seize power. In Su Dingheng's eyes, his displeasure toward her returned. Su Yuro happened to arrive at this moment. When she heard this, she stepped forward to help Su Dingheng out of the predicament. "Father, what sister said makes sense, but as a daughter of the Marquis Manor, Ruer could also learn to manage the household and share the worries for father." Su Dingheng raised his head to look at her. Su Yuro was his beloved daughter, but she was still a little immature. Considering the mistakes she had made before, he was genuinely concerned about entrusting the authority of the Marquis Manor to her. He only sighed softly. "You're younger than Yingxue. I'm afraid you won't be able to manage it well." "Daddy, let me try. Mother has taught me since one was little. Ruer will not disappoint you." Su Yuro clung to his arm and acted coquettishly. When she mentioned her mother, she deliberately raised her eyebrows at Su Yingxue, mocking her for not having a mother's guidance. Su Yingxue didn't take it to heart at all. She quietly waited for Su Dingheng's decision. Su Dingheng was a selfish man to his bones. Other than Lu Shulan, whom he loved deeply, he harbored a sense of distrust even toward his own daughter, Su Yuro. Now, as she and Su Yingxue contended, he sternly remarked, "All right, you two sisters might not be able to manage it well. Howard's military affairs are very busy. If he gets married, and we have there's a young madam in the Marquis Manor, it won't be too late for me to hand over the authority to her." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.